guys, welcome to episode 47 of my Warhammer Conquest review series, where we'll be reviewing issue 47 of Warhammer Conquest. This one's coming to you a little late due to a miscalculation in my personal finances. I literally didn't have the money to buy the magazine. Unfortunately, one of those things. Money was supposed to come in at a certain point. It didn't come in. Once I tracked down what the mistake was, it was easy enough to fix. But it meant that I had to wait until today to actually have money I could spend. It shouldn't happen again, but if it does, it's unavoidable, sadly. Kick-Ass magazine. Let's start as we always do, looking at the plastic pack. Let's get that out. It's worth noting that this is another multi-part kit. As opposed to the easy-to-build kits, this one has multiple options that you can choose to use. So some more cool stuff for your bits box, and with other vehicles coming up, this one will provide some extra weapons and extra bits if you want to stick it on. We can see there we've got a heavy flamer, an assault cannon, we have a couple of rocket launcher missile pods there. If we go to the main sprues, and we can see that this is basically a three sprue set. We go to the main sprue, we can see a melter gun and a bolter, and there's the rest of it, the little antenna, the bit that goes underneath, all the side plates and the anti-grav plating. Unlike repulsors, these things do actually have anti-grav technology, whereas the repulsors kind of are reworking. These ones actually do hover, whereas the repulsor tanks used by the Primaris basically shoot a repelling weapon, shoot a repulsing ray into the ground. With this, we get an old style flying sprue, and you get two heights you can choose. If you choose one height, keep the other rod, because clear transparent rods do have their uses. Anybody who's bought Anybody who's bought GW's new Wood Elf team with the catchers that are balanced on a tiny point, you can totally use one of these to balance. I'm just going to pause this while I go and get the thing I threw across the room. Okay. Sorry about that. Just throwing these across the room. Right. Let's go into the book, because it will probably have a description of the land speed and what it does in the book. I'll also go through a few of my own opinions. Obviously, we have page 1 in this issue, signed by Ian, our spiritual liege. And it tells us what we're going to see here. First page, we've got the land speeder. We've got a Dark Angel land speeder there, painted in black. That's because it's the Deathwing, and often the Deathwing paint themselves in black as opposed to the standard dark green. With the, the Deathwing are white. That's the Ravenwing who paint themselves in black. Sorry about that. Not to be confused with the Raven Guard, although they do follow a very similar fast attack ethos. For those of you unfamiliar with the Dark Angels, they're different to other chapters in that whilst they do have tactical companies, the first company is fairly in line with other chapters, but yeah, with the Dark Angels, the first company is made up purely of Terminator elites. And in the rules, it tends to be that your Terminators, which are an elite choice in every other army, in a Deathwing army are a troop choice, whereas the Ravenwing, which is who this particular picture of a land speeder belongs to, they use fast attacks, so things like your bikes, your land speeders, and stuff like that. I think even some jetpack guys, but I'm not a Dark Angels player, so you'd have to ask one of them. But they all come as troop choices, allowing you to make an incredibly fast, incredibly mobile army. I don't believe either of those armies are considered massively competitive. I think that's just down to the price. But from what I understand, they're a hell of a lot of fun to play. I haven't been up against a full Raven Guard or Deathwing army for a long, long time. But if everything on the board has a 2+ save, it is a bit of a bugger. It's not too much of a bugger. You can take them down with weight of fire and things like that, and things operate differently in 8th Ed. The last time I went up against a Deathwing army, I think it was 5th Ed, Yes, it was either 4th or 5th, because they'd fixed the rolling assault problem that existed in 3rd. For those of you not familiar with 3rd, you could assault one unit and then assault another unit straight. You could move straight into combat with another unit. You waited the next turn to assault them, but it meant you were permanently in assault, which with a vicious combat unit meant you could kill entire armies, and because they didn't get to shoot at you at all, it was a bit of a thing. But yeah, oh, that's pretty fucking cool. But yeah, got some awesome art there. Basic description: armor rating 3. They are a very lightly armored vehicle. Speed 9. They are rapid. And class recon/attack vehicle. Your attack vehicles are kind of your hard-hitting vehicles. This is very similar to the drone we got last week in that its role... its role primarily is to either alpha strike small units like individual heroes and that, or to offer fire support with other units. A single land speeder by itself isn't going to do much damage and is going to be taken out relatively easily. But it does mean if you've got a unit of tactical marines on one side of the army and they are that short of wiping out a unit before it responds, you can move one side of the battlefield. You can move your land speeder all the way across the battlefield, add its weight of fire to that unit, wipe out a unit, and therefore not have to have a response. And then you can fly your land speeder right to the back, right across the other side of the battlefield to lend its weight of fire there. Their mobility and the amount of firepower they carry is very good, and because of what they are, they do allow you to put that firepower in the right place at the right time. Obviously, they're vulnerable, and your opponent will try and kill them, but that's what happens with opponents. Land speeders can accomplish a variety of battlefield objectives, ranging from reconnaissance and scout deployment to tank hunting and other seek and destroy missions. Absolutely agree with that. That's why you've got the variety of weapons, you know. Taking out slightly heavier guys, you've got the bolter. For hunting tanks, you've got the multi-melter. More infantry purposes, you've got your auto cannon or your heavy flamer. And if you wanted to spend the extra points and have some variety, these rocket pods usually fire frag or crack missiles depending on what you want at the time, so it can give you a little bit more punch against a light to intermediate vehicle, or they can give you or they can take out a couple of extra troops. All of it adds up, so they're pretty good. Apparently the reason they're named is because of this awesome little dude here who's called Archenland. Little is known about the techno-archaeologist who is remembered in history as Archenland. It is suspected he was born on Mars and trained by the Red Planet's tech priests. It was Land who led the great expedition into the Librarius Omnis on Mars. For 3 whole years he searched the depths and found several incomplete STC designs that would be used to create 2 Space Marine fighter vehicles. The mighty Land Raider and the gravity-defying Land Speeder. See, we always thought Land Raider because it's a giant thing that raids on land, and we thought Land Speeder because it speeds across the land, but apparently it's named after a dude, which is a cool little bit of fluff I had no idea about. This is actually completely new to me. Apparently he disappeared when leading a second expedition into the Librarius Omnis. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Mars is so old and has had so much technology that a lot of it's been lost. There is a massive library, a massive pool of technology in Mars, but it also has highly complex and highly complex and deadly traps in it, designed to protect all the information. And the tech priests of Mars don't know how to undo them because it wasn't them that built them. It was built by their ancestors and the forerunners of the tech priests and mankind in the golden age of technology before the Mechanicum came about. So there's a wealth of information and history they just can't get to, because A, they don't want to die, and because B, some of the technology is considered so important that the people who put it in this library, in this giant library, would rather destroy it than have it fall into the wrong hands. So if they risk just going in and, you know, they can't just send in troop after troop after servitor, because what would happen is the information would get destroyed and the servitors would get killed. So it's one of those, it's a cool little bit of background information. It goes through a bit more here, another nice black and white picture. You can see from the black and white pictures and the pencil art that the Land Raider is one of the older Space Marine vehicles. It's been around since very, very early editions. This model, I believe, looked like this either 3rd or 5th ed. The original Land Raider model had no front. The second had a sort of big lead front, but it didn't really offer you any protection. And then this one has the front, and you've got the weapon bit, the bar, and the stuff that at least looks like it gives you some protection. We've got a nice picture of the Land Raider here, breaking it down, with the augury probe, the heavy bolter, the assault cannon, and the Typhoon missile launchers, which is all nifty stuff. And here we have a breakdown of the various weapons you can put on there. And as always, remember, whatever you don't use on this, you can hack to death and use on something else. So if you've got this, don't throw the bits away. Put them in your bit box. There's other Space Marine vehicles coming up, such as the repulsor tank. You may be able to use this to add or modify the weapons in the repulsor tank. You'll know when you get the issue what you can and can't use. Or if you've already got a codex, you'll know what you can and can't use. Skies of Flame, another little inspirational piece of fiction there. I do like the bits of fiction. It really is what gets me going. Oh, they're killing Tau. Always a good thing. Heralds of Nurgle. We got here a nice bit about the Heralds of Nurgle. These guys are basically demons that have done well and have been promoted. They're usually not greater demons, but they've been given a promotion and kept as they are because Nurgle likes them as they are. There's different ways in which demons can be promoted. They can, a Flamer or Zench could in theory be given intelligence and made into a Lord of Change if Zench wanted to, but he's far more likely to just make it the best damn Flamer ever. Not that you can predict Zench. And Nurgle and Khorne do similar things. If one of their lesser demons serves them well, they'll give it more power and buff it up. And in some cases, those demons will acquire power off their own means by killing other demons, stealing demon swords, casting rituals on themselves. It is totally acceptable for almost any demon to get as much power for himself as he can and try and ascend through the ranks of demons. It's always a bit weird because lesser demons can sometimes be almost a part of greater demons, and greater demons are definitely a part of their patron god, as are lesser demons. So, even if a lesser demon were to ascend to absolute power, it would never really, it couldn't eat Khorne because it is Khorne and it is part of Khorne and part of the anger that builds Khorne. So, it's a weird thing. They can develop powers off their own back. They can be gifted with things either by their patron deity or by demons greater than them, or even by demons lesser than them if a lesser demon is loyal and wants to express itself. But Heralds of Khorne are kind of a between rank. They're above the Heralds of Khorne, Heralds of Nurgle. They're above the Plague Bearers, but they're below greater demons. They're very special. And this guy's got this huge great trumpet / mouth, and he writes things down. This is Spoilpox the Scrivener. The heralds known as Spoilpox Scriveners, that's actually a type of herald, are given a specific task or a special task program for the Nurgle. It is their job to tally the tally brands of Plague Bearers and audit their ceaseless counting. Basically, they're middle management. Kind of like sergeants in the terms of the armies, but also it's their job to keep an eye on what the Plague Bearers are doing. They use quills plucked from the tail feather of a Lord of Change, a great demon Nurgle's brother and rival Zench. They record the number of diseases counted by the Plague Bearers and scribble down the names of any of them that lose count. As they go about their duties, scriveners verbally attack those around them, their nasal voices amplified by their huge distended jaws. These mouth parts are large enough to bite a man in half. They are also known to target enemies with their disgusting sneezes, covering them in all manner of affections. The abuse directed at players by a spoilpox scrivener has a strange motivational effect on them, forcing them to concentrate even harder on their chanting count and to move much faster than they usually would. You can see how those guys are going to work in the armies. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but another awesome thing. And here we have another kind of herald. This is a Sloppity Bile Piper. You've got to love the names they're giving to these guys. They are ridiculous yet hilarious. I really hope that they're going to do something similar with other demons and that, because frankly, this is just, you know, the Zed stuff and the Slanesh stuff could use some names that are just as cool. Not all of the plagues created by Nurgle work as intended. Many of them only end up being a minor inconvenience rather than a world-sweeping contagion. Some attempts prove even more disastrous, such as the pox that was supposed to eat flesh but instead proved to be more of a disinfectant. That catastrophe was never spoken of again, even by the bravest of unclean ones. The disease known as the chortling murrain was at first believed to be another failure, but when it was repurposed as a punishment, it soon became one of the Lord of Plague's favourite creations. The chortling murrain, or murrain, becomes infectious when it infects a plague bearer. He abandons his shuffled stride and measuring drone and instead falls into what can only be described as a comedic fever. He prances around making quips and singing nonsense songs. Great unclean ones and nurglings find the stream of jokes and idiocy hilarious. The great demons let out great belly laughs and send rotted innards sloshing out into the waves, while nurglings shriek and cackle with laughter. Even the beasts of Nurgle flop about with extra enthusiasm, not understanding but eager to join in the fun. Victims of disease are given the title Sloppity Bile Piper and a new task. Gifted with gut pipe instruments and a Magritte staff, they are sent to amuse Nurgle's armies as they march for war. Unfortunately for Nurgle's foes, demons with the chortling murrain infection and the warp-borne disease... I'll try that again, misreading there. Demons with the chortling murrain are infectious and warp-borne diseases can cause mortals and the demons of other gods to laugh so hard their hearts burst. So that's pretty cool. They're the murder clowns of Nurgle's army, which again, pretty nifty. Right, now we're going on to how to build a land speeder. First, most importantly, clipper safety. Nobody wants to lose an entire arm. Here you've got some complex pictures. It's worth noting that this bit is what goes together. These bits, you've got the green bits and other stuff. The green bits are all optional. The red bits, again, are optional. You don't have to put them on at all. Those, you can choose either of those. Choice weapons, you can choose the side-mounted Typhoon missile launchers or an underslung heavy flamer or assault cannon. So that tells you what you can do and tells you how you can equip it. Next, painting the land speeder. A quick word before we get to painting the land speeder. You will notice on this picture that these missile pods stick out. You'll notice there's this metal bar on which the gun is supposed to pivot, and you will notice that you can have bits sticking out the bottom. These bits can be very delicate and they can break off. The land speeder is not a very robust model. A lot of GW's models have details that can break off. When building the land speeder, consider how you're going to transport it. Consider how you can transport it. It might affect how you put it together, but more importantly, it might affect what you do with it and how you transport it, because there's nothing worse than getting to a game, having arranged it, waiting a week or two to get to it, and then having your model break along with other bits and pieces. So you're spending the first half hour putting stuff back together. That sucks and isn't fun for anybody. So yeah, be aware of, you can see there's little bits there, there's little bits there. They're all plastic. They're strong and tough in terms of little bits of plastic, but not in terms of anything else. So just think how you're going to transport it, think how you're going to put it together. A piece of advice that a lot of people say is either magnetize or don't stick in the, don't glue this in place so that you can assemble it or disassemble it. Some people magnetize it. Some people just use a bit of glue tack or blue tack in the hole so it holds. And some people come up with other solutions. For example, there you can get custom cases that will hold it whilst it's on the stand and keep it safe. But yeah, we've got a nifty little paint guide telling you what paints you're using, which is quite a lot of them, and some other cool stuff telling you where to paint and what to do. It's worth noting these are standard Marines, so if you're building a Primaris only army, it's up to you whether you want to include it. It is a nifty little vehicle, but it is not flown by Primaris. There is no Primaris equivalent to that at the moment. Here we've got a lovely picture here of a land speeder hunting down a plague drone. So you basically, you get to, you can see that they both serve similar purposes. And aerial superiority. Here we have Noxious Brightbringers, 5 Plague Marines, Fetid Bloats Drone and 12 Poxwalkers versus Primaris Captain, 5 Intercessors, 5 Reavers, 5 Scouts and a Land Speeder. A nice big army, so if those guys get knocked out of the ground, knocked out of the air quickly, you've still got a good game to play. But you can see how those guys are going to really lend themselves to the battles. There's a nice cool battle there. Here we have the Land Speeder stats. As always, they are a single-sided stat, so you can include them in. Let's just go through those stats and see what they are. Right, Movement 16, Weapon Skill 3, Ballistic Skill 3, Strength 3, Toughness 5, 6 wounds. So it doesn't have the 10 wounds that minimum you'd expect on a vehicle. Therefore, it also doesn't have the chart that you usually get with a vehicle. It stays as it is all the way down to its bottom wounds. Doesn't get any weaker, doesn't get any slower. So that's pretty nifty as well. A slow land speeder, pretty pointless. 2 attacks in hand-to-hand combat. A leadership 7, which is fairly standard, and a 3+ save, which again is fairly standard. So with a toughness 5 and a 3+ save, it's reasonably tough, but it is 1 model and it is 6 wounds, so it's much more killable than, for example, a squad of standard Marines, and much more killable than a squad of Primaris Marines, just based on the wounds. A little tougher though, which will keep it alive a little bit longer. It is fast. It is a vehicle, so it's flying, but if you are clever, you can use cover to keep it alive longer. Weapon types, we've got the Assault Cannon, which is a range 24, heavy 6, so that's nasty. AP -1 and damage 1, strength 6 as well. We've got a Heavy Bolter, range 36, so better range. Heavy 3, strength 5, -1, damage 1. I mean, personally, with the speed of this thing, unless you're trying to keep it out of the range of the counter-attack, I think the Assault Cannon is a better choice out of those 2 weapons. But you don't actually have to choose. The Heavy Bolter goes on top, the Assault Cannon goes underneath. You can have both. The Heavy Flamer, range 8, heavy D6, but it auto hits because it's a flamer. Strength 5, which is nice. AP -1 again and damage 1. Abilities, this weapon will automatically hit its targets, as we discussed. Yeah, so because you're rolling a D6, you can get 1 wound, you can get 6 wounds, but they automatically hit, so they're not going to strip down. So whenever you roll, you'll then roll into wound, as opposed to having 6 hits, which then get stripped down by roll to hit, and then get stripped down by rolls to wound. So that's be cool. If you can get a Psyker near it that can give it any of the re-rolling one, sorry, if you can get a Psyker or another unit near it that can allow it to re-roll 1s or re-roll misses, again, flamers are far more effective. It is range 8. So you've got to be right close up, but again, with the speed of this thing, that's not a problem. You just have to consider that if you're that close to a unit, you are exposing it, and there is a certain level of vulnerability to it. But if we go back to the build page quickly, I'll just demonstrate something. You can see that the flamer goes on the bottom, and then You can have the bolt gun with a decent, with 36-inch range as an alternative, or you've got a melter gun there, which has probably got a short range. So you can go for a very short range, very hard hitting thing, or you can go for something with longer range, and so on and so forth. Multi-melter, 24 inches heavy one. So that's a one-shot thing. I'm never a fan of melters. They have limited shots. They do a ton of damage if they hit, but if you miss, you miss, and it does nothing. I much prefer multi-shot weapons, even if they're a little weaker, like plasma guns or plasma weapons, just because you're more likely, you know, you always seem to hit with a weapon that has 2 shots and never seem to hit with a weapon that has 1 shot. It's just the way it seems to work out. But it is worth noting that the multi-melter heavy one has strength 8, AP -4, D6 damage. So it is a nasty, nasty piece of work. You risk only doing 1 damage, or you could do 6 damage. But again, that's randomization for you. If the target is within half range, so if the target is within 12 inches, which again is where we're talking the close assault guys, this weapon will roll 2 dice when inflicting damage. So, and discard the lowest result. So you roll to hit, you roll 2 dice to wound, and you have a better chance of winning, which somewhat counteracts somewhat counteracts the only 1 shot, but not that much, because that's the first dice you roll, and if you miss, that's it. On the upside, strength 8, -4 AP and D6 damage, and yeah, and the special rule, make it an ideal vehicle killer. Strength 8 is going to be able to damage vehicles, it's going to be able to do D6 damage to the vehicles. We know most vehicles have more than that, so it's not going to take a vehicle out. But then again, as I previously said, this is the kind of thing. You've got your repulsor tank, you've got the new Primaris tank, whose name now escapes me because it's hot over here, and in Britain we don't understand how he works. Our brains just melt. Or you know, you've got a Land Raider or a Predator, and you've got enough power to almost destroy a vehicle, but then you know the enemy's turn is going to mean that vehicle can then hit you back. This will give you that little bit of extra firepower you need to finish the job and keep your assets safe on the field. And then, because of its high mobility, it'll do the same with the other side of the field if you can keep it alive. So that is really the strength of this thing is the same as the bloat drone. It's that it can move across the field quickly, allowing you to destroy enemies rather than almost destroy them. Really giving you, if everything goes your way, obviously, you know, nothing can protect you from bad dice rolls, but really giving you the ability to take advantage of a tactical situation and go, okay, if I kill his Lehman Russ outright, then there's no Lehman Russ to wipe out my infantry, and then I can move my infantry, and then I can fight. You know, A follows B follows C. So if you use it cleverly, you can do a lot of things. Even if you just use it reasonably well, it can often give you that one little tactical edge that then rolls on and gives you another tactical edge that then rolls on and gives you another tactical edge. You know, land speeders, they're not a great vehicle, but they can win you the battle, strangely enough. Twitch. There we go. Typhoon missile launcher here. When attacking with this weapon, choose one of the profiles. Frag missile, as I said, 48 inches, fantastic. You see that you can take the heavy bolter from the frag missile and you can just lend firepower from places of relative safety. So that is another option. Yeah, the frag missile, heavy 2d6. So you've got a maximum of 2, a minimum of 2, a maximum of 12 shots. With 2d6, the most likely roll you're going to get is 7. Being both the mode, the mean and the median, I think. You get 6 chances of rolling a 7 and 20 chances of rolling a 7 or more. So on average, you're going to hit more than you're going to get higher numbers more than you're going to get lower numbers. So if we were to just take it as purely average, that's 7 strength 4 shots with 0 AP and 1 damage. That's enough to do some. That's enough to take out some Marines. On a bad roll, you've got 2 shots, which isn't terrible because you're 48 inches away, so you're not going to. you know, you're not going to, well, you might be 48 inches away. So, you know, anything over the Marines range, you're not going to be taking return fire, anything for anything short range, which is cool. And then you've got the other option, which is a crack missile. Again, 48 inches, heavy too, so you get 2 shots, but still, as I said, I like that better than the multi-melter. But yeah, if you're playing Tank Hunter, you take that, you take the multi-melter, you've got some cool stuff going on. Again, strength 8, AP -2, so not as good, and again, D6 damage. But that's, again, that's 12 damage the other way around, so that's cool as well. Again, a minimum, well, with that, because you've got 2 random bits, we got a lot of random bits, but you've got a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 12. So a little bit of wider spread, which takes the average down a tiny bit. But still, a nifty weapon, and because it's got the frag and crack option, it's more tactically flexible. And if you're moving this guy from one side of the battlefield to the other, that tactical flexibility really does pay. Not that one of your other options, the underslung assault cannon with heavy 6 and strength 6, is not tactically flexible either. That's reasonably good at taking out Marines, reasonably good at taking out vehicles. You know, reasonably good infantry, reasonably good vehicles. So it's not terrible either. But the Typhoon missile launcher gives the advantage of being good at taking out one or good at taking out the other by turns. There's no cost here, but you can guarantee it costs more. Abilities, and they shall know no fear, which we all know. Explodes, it is a vehicle, despite its slight differences. If it's reduced to 0 wounds or a D6 before removing from the battlefield, on a 6 it explodes, and each unit within 3 inches suffers a mortal wound. If you're gathering units right around a land raider, right around a land speeder, something's going to be funny there. Yep. It does fly. It's got the keywords vehicle, fly, and land speeder. The faction keywords Imperium, Adeptus Astratus, and Ultramarines. And worth noting, if you're not playing Ultramarines on this, just replace it with a chapter keyword for your chapter, provided your chapter can take the vehicle. Some chapters are weird. So that's pretty cool there. Last page telling you where to go to get cool things. By all means, check out the cool things. Right, next week we've got bikes. Bikes are cool. They work really well in tandem with land speeders because they're both fast and they can both lend firepower. Bikes, where a land speeder is the equivalent of kind of a very light vehicle, the bike is the equivalent of a kind of very heavy infantryman. They tend to be tougher, stronger than your average infantryman, but they function a lot more like infantrymen, which is quite cool. I often use bikes as a skirmish screen. They're quite fast. You stick them in front of people. The rule that says you have to shoot the closest thing, and you can avoid too many heavy hits going towards other units. So that's quite cool. I use them more in 7th Ed because that's when I played Standard Marines. And the advantage then was that shooting through a unit gave you a cover save. So your opponent either had to shoot the bikes or you could use them as mobile cover for the units in front. But yeah, they're not very strong, but they do very much have their uses if used right. Following that, we have got paint. We have got Ogrin Camo, Dawnstone, and Calgar Blue. These are layer paints. So just another bunch of pretty awesome colours there. I can totally see that Ogrin Camo being used in the novel ones. And let's have a look on the magazine. Next week we have Space Marine bikes, Forces of Chaos, and stratagems in your game. We haven't covered stratagems yet. They're an awesome part. They're extra stuff you get, so you might as well use them. It's also worth noting, as I previously said, because the stratagems and the psychic powers have arrived later, when you're playing these games, you have to remember that there is extra stuff that you're not yet using. And when you add them, you might find that you get more bang for your buck. The stratagems tend to cost command points, and suddenly the lieutenants and the Chaos Lords make a lot more sense. It's like they're a particularly good dude anyway, but then they give you access to command points, which give you access to stratagems, and all of a sudden the extra points cost really does start to make sense. And week after next, we've got a lovely picture of a dreadnought there, so Hopefully going to be new stuff. Highlights with new layers, Land Raiders, the Black Crusades. So some more interesting stuff coming up next week. Right, where did I put that thing? I'm just going to go and fetch the prize from last week and I'll announce the winner. Right, as we saw, we've got a fairly, as we saw last week, got a fairly hefty amount of stuff here. It's either half a box set from one of the boxes, or it is about 50-60 quid worth of stuff if you try to pick those pieces up individually. The randomness of the dice was rolled, and I cannot read my own handwriting. Oh yes, I can. We have a James Martin who watched the last video. I will PM you on the video and get you to email me a postal address, and this awesome goodiness will be winging its way to you. Now, slightly unusual, I'm a bit of a weird purist. I'm building a Primaris army, so I'm not going to be keeping this, but they're not going to go on a competition here. I have a Facebook, page called Wargamer Dad. Go and check it out. There will be a competition to win this on the Wargamer Dad Facebook page. It'll involve liking the page and sharing the page. So go check out that page, and next week I will announce a winner both in this video and on the page itself. So check it out. If you already like the page, then share, and I should be able to still see that you've shared the page with a friend, or you've shared the competition or something like that. So I'll be able to hopefully get a load of followers, and you'll be able to get a land speeder. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you next time, and again, sorry for the delay in the video. Do re mi failed me. Okay, see you later, guys. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.